morning. I'm Lauren Kilberg. I head up advisor experience at Fora. For those of you who I don't know yet, nice to meet you. We're going to talk about Costa Rica today. Fora just did a FAM trip there a few months ago. And so a lot of this is coming with the most recent and updated information. And otherwise, hopefully you'll find lots of interesting things for your clients. I think what's so interesting about Costa Rica, and we'll get into it, is how diverse it is and how many different styles of client and trip it can accommodate. So we'll get started right away. What we're going to cover is, who goes, how to stay, all of the logistics of getting there and when, what's coming and exciting to see in Costa Rica, the general overview. And we're going to spend a lot of time on a sample itinerary, what style of trips you can do, things you can add or cut off, and then a few hotels we love, plus all of what you can experience outdoor, surfing, etc. So Costa Rica is really interesting because of the diversity it offers. Obviously, it's in Central America. It has really lush rainforests. It also has two sides of beach, volcanoes. So it's really, really diverse. And your clients can be equally as diverse, which I think is interesting. It's great for adventure seekers. I know that there's a maybe misconception that this is like where you're going to go ziplining, where you're going to go hiking. And those are all true things, but there's lots of amazing pieces for families. If you want to fly and flop and go on a beach, there's also wonderful things for couples. It can be really romantic and it's super safe. So great for solo travelers. I would feel more than comfortable going by myself. I think how long you stay depends on where you're coming from. Certainly from the East Coast, it is not a far trip. I flew from New York directly to Liberia Airport. We'll talk about that in a second. It was just a few hours. Honestly, you could do it for a long weekend if you wanted to. I think what's more interesting, though, is to stay for 7 to 10 days and actually get the diversity of Costa Rica. I will note that from the West Coast, it can be a bit more challenging, and therefore you might actually want to have that longer duration so that you feel like you've had enough time to really explore Costa Rica. Getting there. So there are two major airports, San Jose and Liberia. San Jose is the capital. It also has lots of internal flights. Liberia is closer to the Pacific Ocean. That is actually where our group flew into, and it's a little bit more we're going to focus in terms of geography. One other thing to note is that there are a lot of hotels offer transfers. That might be a private plane. I know some of our team members went on a tiny plane. So make sure that your clients are very comfortable if that were to be an option, because the other thing is that the roads are very safe, but they're not maybe the best maintained. And so we really would recommend a hotel or resort transfer where possible, or you find a private driver. This is for a few reasons. It turns out that Google Maps doesn't match all of their roads, and therefore it's actually kind of difficult to navigate the area. There's also just deviations and things that happen naturally, and then you have to find your way through. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend a rental car. And destinations can take a little while to get from one place to the next. So I would say make sure that people are aware of the duration of travel. It can be quite windy. I was talking a big game about how I never get car sick, and I got car sick. So just so that people are aware, bring your bracelets, bring your Dramamine. Once you get somewhere amazing, you'll want to hang out. It will be incredible, but getting there can be a little bit longer and a little rockier than some people are used to. Plus, when to visit. So I would say, and they say, there's no bad time to go to Costa Rica. It is beautiful. The weather is great all year round. It never gets too cold. That said, there is a best time, and it's pretty much dry season from December to April, and it goes from about 70 to 90 degrees. There is a green season, otherwise known as rainy season. We went during rainy season, and honestly, it was still wonderful. You get showers in the afternoon. Most mornings, however, you can, it is clear skies. You can walk around. Things are easier. It's supposed to be slightly less crowded. That said, one of the things to note is that Costa Rica is having a boom, and the times that were green season, maybe less busy, they're not really seeing that slow down anymore. This is really post-COVID. And so you can go any time of year and get an incredible experience. We also, even during green season, went to the beach, went on a catamaran. So there's certainly warm weather to be had. What's new and noteworthy? So a couple things that we at Fora love to book. Rio Perdido, we're going to talk about it. Hacienda Altagracia, Conchal, the Westin, Andas, and then the Tabacon. There are a few new hotels opening up, so more to come here. But this includes a Ritz-Carlton, a Waldorf Astoria, and a Six Senses. I'm curious to see what they actually look like. And so Costa Rica 101, a few different areas. And that's what we were talking about in terms of the diversity that you can explore. So San Jose is the capital city. It has a lot of rich cultural attractions. A lot of clients I know didn't think that they would enjoy San Jose. Why not go back directly into the nature that Costa Rica is known for, but actually ended up loving San Jose and finding it a great place to start their journey. Arenal volcano in La Fortuna, that's where we spent a lot of time. This is an active volcano. It also creates incredible hot springs, waterfalls. It is, really robust and abundant. And you can also see that biodiversity in the Monteverde cloud forest. You'll see hanging bridges, rich wildlife. We saw sloths and little tiny vipers that apparently could kill you, and all kinds of diversity of animals. Guanacaste is really known along the Pacific side for its beaches. And that's where you're going to find a ton of the luxury resorts. Great for sunbathing. And then the Osa Peninsula is a little bit more off the beaten path and great for ecotourism. So the Guanacaste, Osa Peninsula, all of that side is really going to come from the Liberia airport and then San Jose, and you could even reach Arenal from that San Jose side. So we're going to dig into itineraries. One thing to note is that we've purposefully created this so that you can add or subtract or expand. So this is sort of a directional itinerary to take note. If you were to start in San Jose, we recommend, there's great markets, there's great food there, there's a national theater with an incredible historical architectural theater. And there's also just, you'll get a tone for what Costa Rica and San Jose feels like. From there, you might drive over to La Fortuna and get closer into sort of the nature that Costa Rica might be known for. This is where Tabacon would be, into Arenal. We spent a night there, and in the Nayara Tenta camp. We're going to talk about both of those a little bit more. And this is where we did hanging bridges, exploration into the rainforest. We did get very rained on, but it was a really fun experience. It is just incredibly beautiful. You see the volcano, and it's a unique part of Costa Rica. Once you get into the Arenal Volcano Park, you can start to hike. There's a lava field, tons of wildlife. You, as you said, see the volcano, and this is where you're going to also find some hot springs. You can then head over to the Monteverde Cloud Forest. This is a little bit of a longer journey, and I'm really calling that out here because you want to probably break that up day over day, or at least be mindful of the amount of travel that your client will go through. So we're kind of rushing through this process, but maybe you pick and choose that you're not going to go to all of these places. Here, similarly, amazing misty trails, lush greenery. It is incredibly rich and biodiverse. And then finally, head out into bird watching. This is maybe where you're going to find some local coffee plantations. It's really interesting to see how Costa Rica has been able to use their natural resources to also create great tourist experiences. And then if you drive out towards Guanacaste, you're going to start to move from that really more intense greenery into hiking trails and hanging bridges. And this is where you're going to find Rio Perdido. Finally, over to the beach. So there's different options on how you go there. Osa, Nacoya, and Papagayo are three different things entirely. Osa is going to be where you find the Alta Gracia Auberge resorts. That is less of a beach. It's actually more inland. But Casa Chameleon, El Mangrove, those are really on the beach. And then you start to get into the resort areas of Four Seasons and Andas. For some of them, Andas and Four Seasons specifically, that peninsula, it's about 20 minutes to the Liberia airport. So if somebody's coming in and they only have a few days, this might be a great fly and flop option. In Osa, you can actually explore the national park there, wildlife, macaws, tapirs, or check out surfing lessons. So there's really depends on what your client looks for, but there is something for everyone. If you continue, this is where you can spend a few days in each of these, in one of these locations, water sports, hanging by the beach, surf lessons. So all of these are options. And this is actually how you'll end up final end of your trip headed over to Liberia Airport to leave. So a few things to talk about in terms of resort activities. So Tabacon, which is in the Arenal area, that's where you're going to find thermal springs. Tabacon is, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but it's one of the few hotels in the area that has a thermal spring attached to the resort. So that means that there's a private space for thermal springs. In Nyara, there's guided nature walks. At the Springs Resort, it's really amazing for families. They have a lazy river, they have horseback riding, they have a ping pong and, tons of different activities. And then you'll get into more of beachfront. So Andaz, they just opened their new beach club. Santa Teresa will have more of a surfing option because that's where the waves are found. El Mangrove, there are wildlife encounters. In Casa Chameleon, they offer private beachfront dining. So lots of different options depending on where you're staying. One thing to note is that we mostly were eating in restaurants of hotels. Lots of these hotels offer 3, 4, 5 different options. And sometimes you can go from one hotel to the next if you want to try different restaurant options. Within each location, there's obviously also restaurants, but there is an interesting diversity of food, and it's really fresh and based in the local cuisine. These are all great restaurants that we tried as we were going through the FAM. So let's talk a little bit about some of the hotels. Rio Perdido, we mentioned this earlier. This is great for active travelers, nature enthusiasts. This is an eco-adventure retreat. It's in a canyon setting, and they also have thermal river pools. So it's really interesting for people who are looking for adventure and rejuvenation, and it has a great mix in that sense. Hacienda Altagracia is an auberge. It is more of a wellness retreat. It's great for people who are really thinking about horseback riding, holistic treatment, farm to table. It is a sanctuary. And so in terms of how it's organized, and the views are amazing. Nyara Tented Camp are actually 3 different hotels, all under the Nyara brand: Tented Camp, Springs, and Gardens. Tented Camp is the newest of the 3 offerings, and this is a family experience. They do have adult only as well, but just so that you're aware. The Tented Camp also has individual plunge pools associated to each room, and they're like mini villas. They have tons of different restaurant options as well as different pools. What I didn't see is while they do have hot tubs and hot springs, they aren't as close to the original volcano hot springs. And so just something to know is that if you're looking for that, that's probably more in Tabacon than in the Nyara space. Andaz, Costa Rica. This is on the water. It's on the Peninsula Papagayo. It's on the same peninsula as the Four Seasons. So Four Seasons and Andaz, they have completely different feel. They're also different price points, worth noting. This is great for families. They have a kids club. They have multiple pools. They also have an adult-only pool. They have multiple restaurants. You can eat at either the Andaz Costa Rica Resort or the Four Seasons, where they also have an additional, 4 restaurants. The thing to think about for Andaz, which I was super impressed by, is that they have a brand new beach club. It is probably a 15-20 minute drive from Andaz proper. They also have beach access through Andaz proper, but the beach club is a separate space with its own restaurant, a pool, beaches, activities, paddleboarding, kayaking, all part of the experience. And then you can actually take a boat back to Andaz Resort. What was fun there is that when we were going along, you could actually find dolphins playing in the surf. So that was pretty exciting. Casa Chameleon. Casa Chameleon is in Las Catalinas, so it's further up the Pacific coast. This is adults only. I say that repeatedly. This is adults only. So 16 plus. You can bring 12-year-olds to the restaurant, but you have to book in advance. These are incredibly luxurious, incredibly romantic spaces. They all are private villas. Again, they all have private plunge pools. I was really blown away by this space, and the dining at Sendito Norte was also excellent. There is Las Catalinas town just below Casa Chameleon. It is still being constructed. So you might hear that there's a lot of construction around Las Catalinas. I think two things to note is one is when you're in the space, you actually don't see or notice it at all. I think I heard one hammer in a wall one day from far away, but otherwise it's really not noticeable. However, the town is small and it is under construction. You probably wouldn't go in that much except an afternoon, maybe to walk around, but you can arrange and go the other direction outside of Las Catalinas to go on a catamaran or go do other things in the neighboring areas. Other places we love. So I mentioned Four Seasons, Costa Rica. It's on the same peninsula as the Andes. This is a huge resort. It is incredibly beautiful. They have fantastic villas and residences. And so those are also available to clients. W Costa Rica. This is beachfront. It feels more like a W than anything else that we saw, in terms of it feels like the W has gone to Costa Rica. They have an on-site golf course, and it does offer Marriott Liveness perks. El Mangrove is an autograph collection. So what's interesting about this, and it's in process, and so you'll want to make sure that you're aware when you book clients. There are two styles of room at El Mangrove. One which has a open air living space, so it is not air conditioned. The bedroom is air conditioned, but not the living space. And then they're building new or refurbing, I should say, rooms so that both the living space and the bedroom are both air conditioned. And then we talked a little bit about Tabacon. This is in the middle of Arenal. You have a spa, access to the thermal spas. There's actually a private space within the spa. It's called Shangri-La, just for Tabacon retreat users. And this is a great place to offer for kids too, I would say. Not little kids, because there's a lot of walking around, but probably 6+. A few things to know. So lots of great food. We had a ton of a casado, which is rice, beans, plantain, salad, and then fish or meat. The dress code, it is tropical. I would wear lots of linen and your bathing suit. It doesn't get cold, but you can get very wet in the rainy season in the middle of the rainforest. It's called the rainforest for a reason. In the evenings, smart casual. Currency. So the Costa Rican colon is the official currency. We actually used dollars a lot of the time, and it was totally acceptable, but change was given in colones, and tipping is very much appreciated. They speak Spanish in Costa Rica. There are a ton of English speakers just due to tourism. You will hear a ton of Pura Vida, and it's wonderful to hear around. Costa Rica also has one of, I think, the few blue coasts, meaning lots and lots of centenarians. And once you're there, you can kind of get a feel for why. Costa Rica it is really a modern facilities, modern medical facilities. It feels really safe. Use normal caution. And obviously in wildlife settings, I would be mindful that the animals are there first. We saw a tiny viper that apparently was a baby, and that you want to stay clear of. But normal practice. A few things outdoors. So there are some incredible altitudes. So make sure to stay hydrated, take breaks. It will make you potentially a little bit short-breathed, but it is not as intense as other places that you're going to go. There are amazing hot springs. We've talked about this a little bit, especially near the volcano. Lots of ways to get in. Wildlife. This is everywhere in Costa Rica, no matter where you're going to be. Monkeys, sloths, tapirs, birds. It's pretty wonderful to see the diversity that there is in the country. Sun protection. It is a really tropical sun. Wear sunscreen, hats, glasses, all the things you're normally going to do. And there are insects. It didn't get crazy, but normally you are outside. And then road conditions, as we talked about a little bit. If you are going to drive, consider a 4x4. The one other thing to talk about is surfing in Costa Rica. This is very common. There are a ton of week-long, 10-day retreats. I know that a few of our colleagues at Fora went to go check out Surf Synergy. This was what they said. What I heard was that it was a great experience because they're really able to tailor it to your skill level. It is a more 7-day program. So it is for a longer stay, but it can be a great way to get your sea legs under you as you learn to surf. And I believe that they also offer, to almost every age group, which is great to see. There are other beaches. Santa Teresa Beach is really known for its consistent and challenging waves, so more advanced surfers, but this can be a great place for people to have an option of surfing and swimming. There's a few fun films, TVs, and books set here to check out or send to your clients as they go. And then, Holy Week, particularly, and festive are going to be the busiest times in Costa Rica. So if your clients are looking to travel for spring break or for festive, you'll want to book early. And then things to add on. Honestly, you could spend all of your time in Costa Rica if you wanted, but if there was, interest to go somewhere else, you're really close to all of these places. Belize is 2 hours, English speaking. Panama City, totally different experience. So much more of a city feel, only an hour and a half-ish. And Nicaragua, you could actually drive. So pretty easy to get that way. So what if Costa Rica is interesting or your clients have been there and they want to go somewhere similar, but not the same place? So New Zealand, similar, great beaches, great rainforest, a lot of outdoor and great for ecotourism. So similar probably on that side. Thailand, more beach and jungle, certainly further. So you generally have to take that into account. But another option, Hawaii, particularly if you're on the west coast of the States and you don't want to go all the way to Costa Rica, Hawaii actually is very similar in its diversity of tropical rainforest plus beach plus volcanic landscape. And then Madagascar, unique wildlife, diverse ecosystems, coastal, not probably the same feeling in terms of tropical rainforest, but great for nature enthusiasts. We will close there. Thank you so much. Bye.